Imagine you are a full-time college student coming home from the library after a study session with a group of friends. You're walking back to your residence halls, and you notice that one of your friends you were studying with has a note on their door. You may just think that some of the hallmates are joking with them, but you clearly realize that is not the case. The note is threatening, with some racial slurs, and has some derogatory symbols. You have no idea what to do. Your friend is visibly upset, and you realize this could be considered as a hate crime. What do you do? Who do you tell? What do you do next? Are you protected? Hi, I'm Allie Upchurch, and I'm going to talk about the importance of a human dignity policy and why I believe that Ohio University should adopt this policy. Throughout this presentation, we will learn more about the importance of human dignity and how open dialogue as we exchange ideas can support student learning. Next, we'll learn more about Ohio University's current policy and how enrollment statistics throughout the years could potentially impact and change this policy. Lastly, we will wrap up this presentation by learning more about peer institutions and how Ohio University could implement this policy with these institutional examples. For now, let's talk more about some stories in the media. Recently, Harvard had an admission case where the plaintiff, a group of students for fair admissions, has accused Harvard of discriminating against an Asian American applicants. It argues that the school considers race too much, forcing Asian Americans to meet a higher bar to get in. For supporters of affirmative action, diversity on college campuses is on the line. Leaders in a higher education world say taking away race-conscious admissions would result in homogeneous classes. But others, like the plaintiff, which is a Students for Fair Admission, say it is an overreaction. They argue that considering someone's race opens the door to racial bias. This case is still going on and has not been affirmed yet. Another case back in 2009 at The Ohio State University, there were two employees from the English as a Second Language program at Ohio University filed a lawsuit against their employer in federal court, in which they claimed they had been forced to undergo changes within the new program, as the director said that their age it had more consequences, while younger and less experienced people were promoted. After this lawsuit was filed back in 2014, so it was under investigation for about 5 years, they concluded that they were being discriminated against their age with the Employment Discrimination Act, which is the EDHE. And this protects employees who are over the age of 40 years old. The university agreed to settle the suit by rehiring both wronged employees while also compensating them back with back pay and paying for more than $300,000 worth of attorney's fees. As a result of these discrimination cases, it's important that Ohio University community must respect the campus community. Typically, this conduct that violates this policy it typically has a purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual or individual's work or educational environment, is directed to an individual or individuals on the basis of a protected status, or is abusive or severely humiliating. Bias incidents and hate crimes are a standard in the values of the university, violate the university policy, and in some instances, state and federal law, and will not be tolerated. So, what is human dignity? Human dignity is defined here as an individual or group sense of self-respect and self-worth, physical and psychological integrity, and empowerment. The purpose of this is to make sure Ohio University has a clear understanding of its policy on discrimination and harassment against an individual based on a protected characteristics. It is important to consider academic freedom and difference of educational beliefs as we create this policy. It is also important to recognize as a campus that excellent education experiences must include and also allow for divergent viewpoints and perspectives. And some of this could cause some challenges that are against their cultural norms or some of their values or beliefs that they've used to grow up with. As a university community, we must value and protect academic freedom and open of exchange of ideas. This policy is not intended to undermine or weaken these precepts. Rather, it is meant to address those incidents that fall behind professional and academic discourse. You can see here that this is the current policy that Ohio University has listed on their website. So you'll notice that Ohio University does not discriminate against any person in employment or educational opportunities because of the following listed below. We've also seen that there is an individual that is listed with this. The name is Kerry Griffin. He is the director of the Title IX coordinator, and this individual is responsible for making sure that meaningful conversations are happening. But it also seems that this could also be a great opportunity to expand this and add more about human dignity and create more conversation around better understanding of different instances and how we can better support the campus community and where to go. Next, I want to transition into the percentage of 18 to 24-year-olds who were enrolled by a college by race and ethnicity back in 2016. This report was determined by the American Council of Education. If you look at the graph, you will notice the share of young adults enrolled in college, which was back in 1996, which was 35.5%, and you'll notice in 2016, it was 40.9% in 2016. That was about a 5.4% increase. Also, more than 1/3 of the 36.3% of Black young adults were enrolled in college, with enrollment increasing by 9 percentage points back from 1996 to 2016. This is helpful to understand the support and the policy needed, as enrollment will increase throughout the years. Lastly, we will review the policies of our peer schools. To start with, I believe that it was important to get a better understanding of the institutions and if they had made the public aware of their policies. This was a great place to start to provide awareness for all individuals as they are learning more about each school's policy. So if you look at this slide, I have chosen these schools primarily based on their statements. So looking at Ohio University, I've also compared Ohio University to John Carroll, Capital University, Miami University, University of Cincinnati, Xavier University, and Wright State University. Let us move forward as I've broken down these policies with schools and topics mentioned in each policy that Ohio University could benefit from. First, if we take a look at this graph, you will see that Ohio University has covered a lot of these areas listed that other schools may have not, as we are just missing the human dignity policy, which could provide room for improvement. I have listed the sections out with questions and policies that a campus may already have. I selected these questions as to why they were important factors of priorities for the policy. I wanted to look at where the non-discrimination policy was housed, or even if they had a human dignity policy, and who owned the policy. I felt that the office who owned this policy made an impact and could potentially move this policy in the right direction. As you can see, Ohio University has a policy that's under the provost's office, which is a step in the right direction. It allows the chief academic officer to take control and responsibility for some student-centered reports. I felt that this was important to gather information, as the rest of the schools, with the exception of Capital, they were all owned by the Human Resources Department. I have chosen these schools for specific reasons and how they can apply to the human dignity policy. Even though some of these schools may not be related in size, they are relatable and can learn, as they all have different policies that help their institution with some of these reports. Take John Carroll. Throughout my research, they were one of the only schools that listed out the policy in a 7-page document, and the campus community all had access to this document, regardless of if you were a visitor, a faculty member, or a student. However, they did not have a campus hearing board, and the Human Resources Office owned this policy. If we take a look at Capital University, they meet all the requirements. But in relation to Ohio University, this institution is smaller with a smaller staff. We can learn from some of their policies, as there are a lot of cross-campus involvement, as many individuals on campus could potentially fill many different roles, as we could help with some of that. Miami University is comparable to Ohio University with size and academic programs. This policy is separate for employees and students. It is important for there to be a cross-sector of campus partners to prevent bias. This is the same case for the University of Cincinnati, as they are without a student hearing board. I believe that this prevents students in the campus community to have a seat at the table. And if we did allow them to sit at the table, this could help educate the students on campus about policies and procedures that are happening around the campus. I also believe that we could potentially grow from this in maybe getting our student government to take a more active role on some of these committees. If we take a look at Xavier, they were a great resource, and they were the only institution listed that had a flowchart of advocacy resources and who to reach out to with numbers and contacts for each campus office. Ohio University could use this research to improve the educational aspect of student learning. This was really important, as I found that Xavier's research could really help impact Ohio University's new human dignity policy. Wright State also provided more information about their non-discrimination policy, but it was very brief. It was just a statement or two. However, they were the only other areas other than the University of Cincinnati that did not meet the criteria but had a policy. After looking at this, I believe that Ohio University could learn from these policies to implement and improve a new human dignity policy. Now, I believe there are some key takeaways we can look at as we move forward in this proposal for change. It is clear that Ohio University should add more dialogue about human dignity and academic freedom in the policy. All campus environments offer diverse learning situations, and it is important that our students know how to navigate a diverse society appropriately. Acts of intolerance could occur, and this could create more awareness and control over these issues. Faculty, staff, administrators, students, visitors, vendors, and volunteers could all be aware of this policy prior to coming on campus. I also believe that it is important to create a clear definitions and clear line of campus partnerships for students to educate themselves about the support services that the institution offers. Once this is established, there could also be an opportunity for students to learn about these services through their transitional process through Ohio University. I believe that the student services could provide education and awareness for this policy and could really impact the way that the student body moves forward. So going back to the instance that happened with the note on the door, I'm hopeful that if a student were in this situation, they would know how to report the crime and know the institution's policy, and they would know that the policy would be there to support them. A human dignity policy offers much more than a non-discrimination policy, and it gives a clear indication that the student is supported by the members of the community, and it is designed to help with acts of intolerance that may occur. More support and guidance should also be provided to the student, as well as clear communication, so that the note on the door only happens now and that the campus community can learn in the future. Thanks so much.